Hello everyone, this is Cross. What I'd like to talk about today is picking spells for your 5th edition wizard. So, let's get right into it. First, a couple comments. There are a few guides out there on the internet that kind of run through this rank system, almost this, this is a bad pick, this is a good pick kind of system. But in a lot of these guides or these quote unquote builds, they basically just throw every spell that's in the game out there and just give it this rating of what they think, is a good or bad pick, and give some reasons behind it. And, you can glean some information from it, but sometimes people want the methodology behind it, some sort of guide on how do you go about doing this. So what I have is just kind of created a little sheet here. Obviously I haven't done much to it. Basically made it a level 1 wizard. So here's the thing. With a level 1 wizard, you get to pick 6 first level spells. At level 2, you get to pick 2 more. And then at level 3, you can pick 2 second level spells. And then 2 more second level spells. And then you're on to 3rd level spells. So what that means is essentially what you have to work with, what you can control, is 8 first level spells and then 4 spells from pretty much every level thereafter. That's your kit. So, but how do you pick? Well, let's take a look at the spell importer here. And the first thing we need to do is pick 3 wizard cantrips. So these are the big thing. These are things that you cannot change. So what do I look for in a cantrip? Well, the first thing I always look at is, well, I've only got 2 second level spells. I've got to make it to level 2. Okay. So what I feel like most characters would do, just being wizards, is they would learn a offensive cantrip and then some kind of utility cantrips. So you can pick 3, 4 if you're a high elf, but let's rely on the 3 for right now. Pick your offensive cantrip. You have the choice of picking saving throw style cantrips or attack roll cantrips. I've played around with both, and I feel that these saving throw cantrips they work and then they don't. They just are what they are. Poison spray, to me, it's a Constitution saving throw. I couldn't get it to hit. Sure, it does a D12 damage, but it's got to hit, and people have high Constitution saving throws, and it was just annoying. So I personally lean towards, I want to roll the dice. Let me roll high. Let me roll low. There's some advantages to having saving throw style. If somebody gets in your face, an attack roll, a ranged attack roll, is going to have disadvantage. Sure, but let's try not to get in that position. And if you are in that position, let's have some spells that we can use instead. Don't try to make this choice. Don't talk yourself out of this choice just because, there's all these situations where that won't work. Well, if you're in that situation, pick another spell. Right now, what I want is an offensive cantrip. Normally, I'd go with Firebolt. I like the range of Firebolt, 120 foot. We have the options between Firebolt, Chill Touch, kind of stuff. You Toll the Dead's a new spell. It's a saving throw, but hey, it works pretty good. But let's just and Green Flame Blade, Booming Blade, like stuff like that. Those are melee oriented spells. Lightning Lure. Yeah, let's go with Lightning Lure. That sounds good. Let's see what that's all about. 15-foot range, and you can pull a target. Cool. This is our attack cantrip. Now we want to pick two sort of utility cantrips. So you have a lot of different choices here. Do you have dark vision? Do you want people that don't have dark vision to have access to light? You can cast light on their stuff and let them walk around having their own light, kind of saving you some torches and stuff. Blade Ward. I've been back and forth on Blade Ward. I used to think that taking the dodge action was better, but now Blade Ward has its place. Especially with use of your reaction, like shield and stuff like that. Blade Ward has its place, but I don't like concentration style cantrips. If you want to be able to cast message from 120 feet away, they kind of whispers in plain sight. Yeah, let's take message. You want to be able to pick up stuff with Mage Hand? Sure, for some characters, but not this one. I like Prestidigitation, Minor Illusion, Mending. Mending's good for, this thing that's really important broke, and now they're mad at you. I put it back together. Here you go, sir. That can save your hide in some cases. Lightning Lure, Message. Let's go with Minor Illusion. Sure, those are our three cantrips. Now let's talk about first level spell picks. So I already mentioned offense and utility. I have two other categories, and that is defense spells and ritual spells. So out of your 6 spells, I like to have 1 or 2 spells in each category, and there's 4 categories. So if you had 2 in each category, that's 8. Obviously, you can't do that, but you can. If you wanted 2 in each category, you'd have to wait till level 2, but then you could pick your other 2 from the other categories that you only had 1 in. So what I like to start with is my rituals. I want to pick my 2 rituals. The reason why I pick 2 rituals is because if you're doing point buy, and let's go ahead and just give this guy a 16 intelligence, right? 16 intelligence would give you +3 intelligence. You're level 1 wizard. That means you can prepare 4 spells. You can pick 6. If I have 2 rituals, I can prepare my other 4 spells, and then I can still cast my other 2 spells as rituals. So I have access to my whole spell book. Great. Your rituals kind of help define your character. Do you want a familiar? Yes or no? If you really like the idea of having familiar, then automatically that's one of your spells. Do you want to make sure you understand languages? Honestly, there's a lot of different languages. It's kind of hard to get languages in the game. Having comprehend languages can help your character understand what's going on if your DM likes to toy around with, you don't know this language, you don't know this language. Well, tell you what, how about I just know all the languages and be done with that? And I'm going to click that, and it's not going to do anything. And my API is probably shut down. Anyway, you get the point. Let me see. Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart the APIs while I continue talking. At least I'm going to try. So anyway, that is the that's the idea. That's the idea behind all of it, is kind of dividing out the spells. Don't look at the huge list of spells and get overwhelmed. Try, to divide them out and say, I want a couple offense, I want a couple defense, a couple utility. And by utility, what I mean by that is spells that kind of give you access to something that you couldn't do before. So a spell like, let me try the spell importer one more time. There we go. All right, we're back up and running. Wizard, first level spells. So for first level, what would be a good utility spell? Utility is also, I consider any form of CC, crowd control spell. Cause Sphere, Expeditious Retreat. Featherfall is a good example of utility spell. What does it allow you to do that you couldn't do before? Well, before, jumping off of a cliff to ambush a campsite below sounds like a terrible idea. But with Featherfall, all of a sudden it sounds like a great idea. That's something that you would normally not be able to do. Casting Identify, that falls into the ritual category. Charm Person, a good example. This is something that I normally would not be able to do. However, Charm Person really just allows you to have advantage on something you could already do before. So Charm Person is what it is. You know, it still falls under that utility. So Silent Image, it gives me an answer to a problem that I normally wouldn't have. I can create this image. I can if I can remember someone's face, maybe I can silent image and show them the face of the person without having to sit there and describe it. Minor Image could also probably do that as a still image, but you know, silent image kind of allows you to kind of showcase the scene of what's going on. This is what I saw. You know, here's a 15-foot cube of what I saw right here. Let me show it to you. Defense spells would fall into spells like Shield, Absorb Elements. Mage Armor falls into Shield, into defensive spells. Offense spells. So when you're picking your first offense spells, here's a trick. Chromatic Orb is actually a really good offense spell, but it requires an attack roll. In early levels, you have very few spell slots. You need to try to make sure that those spell slots count for something. So as first level, you have 2. So when you use one of them, try to make sure it does something. For example, if you were to cast Chromatic Orb and miss, that spell did nothing. If you were to cast Magic Missile, it would at least do something. If you were to cast Featherfall, that would do something. Fog Cloud, that would do something. You know, it protection from evil and good. Again, that would do something. And also, when you're picking these spells, don't just look at the name of the spell. Make sure you know what the spell does. Protection from evil and good actually has nothing to do with alignment. In fact, let's just go ahead and pick it and take a look at the spell. Protection from evil and good protects you against certain types of creatures: aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, and undead. Right? Nowhere does it say it protects you from evil. These are just evil and good creatures historically. But if a human is alignment evil, it does not do anything to protect you from it. Do not look at the title of the spell and make assumptions that this is how mechanically it works. Okay, this is just one example of many. So that would be utility spell. I like Shield, so we're going to go ahead and pick Shield. That's a good defensive spell. Offense. So talking about offense for a minute, you can pick Chromatic Orb and not pick Magic Missile. This is a little bit of a gamble because Magic Missile is actually a pretty good spell. It automatically hits, so there's no save, no attack roll. It does a thing. It's guaranteed to do that thing. It's a little bit of damage, but in some cases, you know, it'll do quite a bit. You can save a spell by nixing Magic Missile and just taking Chromatic Orb or one of the other attack spells. And because you only have 8 to pick from, right? So that kind of gives you the ability to take an extra utility or an extra defensive spell. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to pick Chromatic Orb. And now where are we? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 spells. Let's pick another utility. You can take Sleep is a high rated spell because in the early levels, it does a lot of work. It does. Remember what I said, when you cast a spell, it needs to do a thing. Sleep does that. It can knock out 2 or 3 opponents at early level and completely change the tide of battle so that the rest of your team does not need to use as many resources to fight this fight. You use that one first level spell and people took less damage. They didn't need to use their resources to kill the creatures where normally they might have needed to. We have this list, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have shield. We don't have mage armor. If you feel like that's something you need, that's great. We'll take sleep at 2nd level. Or instead of protection from evil and good, we won't take protection from evil and good, and instead we'll take sleep. If that's something you want. Or you can just not take it and keep going, try and by level 2, you'll know if you need magic missile or not. Otherwise, go ahead and take it now, just as the safety bet. You never know. Right now, we're relying completely on lightning lure, which is a 15-foot range. So now you're looking at your character going, I can't cast chromatic orb because I don't have a 50 gold diamond, and I'm relying solely on lightning lure to do damage. This may not be a good plan. Let me replace lightning lure with firebolt or chill touch or something like that. Let me get away from my enemies for a little bit. But anyway, this is how I go about it. When we go to 2nd level, again, the concept of where am I currently standing on my offense spells? Where am I currently? Do I have enough offense spells? Am I comfortable there? Yes or no? How are my defenses? I don't know. 2nd level spells have one of the best defense spells in Mirror Image. If you feel like you're going to get attacked a lot with archers or something like that, go ahead and pick up Mirror Image. It's non-concentration spell that can negate attacks. Really good defensive spell. But remember, out of this list, you only get 4. In your early levels, look for spells that work longer than instantaneous, right? So I could cast Scorching Ray and do 3 2d6 attacks that have an attack roll. That's a good amount of damage in one turn, and I think Scorching Ray is a really good spell later when I have more spells to play with. But for now, Flaming Spear is actually a really good spell because in these early levels, when I'm level 3 or so, you have 2 2nd level spell slots. I can show you that here and just go ahead and make them a level 3, and there's my spell slots I would have. Long rest, refresh spells, great. Okay, so I enter into a fight right after a long rest, and instead of lightning lure, I've got chill touch or something like that. But bottom line is I can cast Flaming Sphere at level 2. Good damage roll. This sphere will continue rolling around, and as bonus action, just keep ramming into things, dealing this damage with the dex save, and doing a little bit of damage each round. Importantly, it lasts for 10 rounds. So with that one spell slot, I'm kind of getting this continuous effect that's going on the field. I can rely on Flaming Sphere and a cantrip to do damage if that's what I need to do right now. Sometimes you might need to control or CC or something like that, but we can kind of get through the combat with me expending one of my spells instead of me trying to spend 3 spells. Let me cast Scorching Ray. Okay, the fight's not over yet. And here's another interesting thing to look at. Flaming Sphere does 2d6, right? Scorching Ray dealt 2d6, 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 3 different attack rolls. So in 3 rounds of Flaming Sphere, you've done the equivalent of one cast of Scorching Ray, and even if they've saved, you've done a little bit of damage each round, unless they're immune to fire, which they'd be immune to Scorching Ray anyway. But you've still got 7 more rounds of Flaming Sphere left. So it's not all at once, but it just lasts longer. So in these earlier levels, when I don't have a whole lot of resources, I look for spells that do something a little bit longer. Moonbeam is a really good example of that for druids. I spelled something like Call Lightning. You cast a spell and it lasts and lasts and lasts and gives you the ability to do something from round to round to round to round, instead of a chromatic orb that just casts the spell and that's it. So that's also something that I look for. I look for a spell that kind of gives me that capability. But that's how I pick spells. At this point, I see an offense and a defense. I would probably look for 2 utilities. Better yet, let's take a look at 2nd level rituals, right? And it's kind of freezing up again. Or no, it's down here. Magic Mouth, General Repose, and Skywrite. Skywrite? Yeah, so I don't want any of those. Cool. Now I can focus on defense, offense, and utility. I don't need rituals. I can get, let me get a couple of utilities. What would be a good utility? Hold Person. If your party is smaller, Hold Person does not work as well. If you have a larger party, Hold Person works better. Just keep that in mind. Reason being, there are more turns between saving throws, or less turns between saving throws. Just keep that in mind. At this point, you would know whether or not you need to take Dark Vision as a spell. Earthen Grasp, I don't like the way that the spell works. Detect Thoughts, that's a good utility. That's something that you couldn't do before that you can do now. Blur's defensive. Shatter, your first AoE. It's a good AoE. If you feel like you need that this early, then I would probably take Shatter. And it's hard for me to bounce between Flaming Sphere and Shatter, but just keep that in mind. Some sort of CC, or honestly, invisibility is here, and invisibility can be something that's just very useful throughout your D&D career. We'll go ahead and put that in there. But anyway, so that's how I look through the spells and how I pick and choose and do everything that I'm doing. And hopefully you guys gain a little bit of advice from that, so that you can kind of not be so shell-shocked when you're staring at a wizard's spell list going, which one do I pick? If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below, and I'll try to answer it as soon as I can. And have a good day.